For a genuine urban explorer, forgotten places are never overlooked. Within their aged walls lies not only a unique beauty, but also captivating stories waiting to be unveiled. Today, we embark on a journey to unravel some of these stories as we count down the 10 most intriguing places frozen in time. Number 10. Chang China. This underwater paradise isn't the Little Mermaid's Atlantic, as you're inclined to believe, but in fact, a majestic 600-year-old city that solemnly rests underwater since it was flooded in 1959 by the Chinese government. It features imposing statues of lions, dragons, and phoenixes, 265 archways, and historical inscriptions dating back to the 16th century. Shichen, which means Lion City in Mandarin, has rightfully been called the Atlantis of the East by travelers. It was purposely flooded to make room for the Xinhe River Hydroelectric Station, and nearly 300,000 people were relocated for the project. As you can see, the city has been miraculously well preserved underwater, so this is as close to a time travel to Imperial China we'll get for now. Who's up for a dive? Number 9. Varosha, Cyprus. If you really want to know how a post-apocalyptic world would look like, taking a trip to this Mediterranean ghost resort is your best bet. Varosha was once Cyprus' most exclusive tourist destination, frequented by the rich and famous like Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, and Brigitte Bardot. But time suddenly stopped in Varosha when Turkish military forces invaded Cyprus in 1974, and the resort has been abandoned ever since pots were left cooking on the stove. A car dealership stocked with 70s now vintage cars was abandoned, and clothes still hang from the windows of once glamorous shops. The town's Greek Cypriot residents thought they would return, but the resort has remained under Turkish control to this day. This eerie-looking resort that tells stories of lives stopped in mid-frame is restricted to visitors, and photographs or video footage of the area is normally forbidden. Number 8. Two Guns, Arizona. To say this iconic town in Arizona had a colorful past would be an understatement. Two Guns faced a lot of challenges throughout history, only to be eventually defeated by a road. The town, originally known as Canyon Lodge, was a modest trading post and the site of a major confrontation between the Navajos and the Apaches in the 19th century. Its modern history began when the site became recognized as the best place to cross Canyon Diablo, first by wagon and then later by motor cars. By the late 20s, the road through the town known as the National Trail Highway was flourishing into the famed Route 66, and Canyon Lodge was turning into a busy stop for drivers in need of gas and food. When Henry Two Gun Miller became the owner of the facilities located there, he changed the name of the town in Two Guns. Under Miller, the town became a full-flag tourist trap with a food market, a zoo, and a tour down into a canyon cave, now called Apache Death Cave, where 42 Apaches were killed by their Navajo enemies, but Route 66 was eventually rerouted to the opposite canyon, taking its travelers and their money with it. Although several attempts of reviving the town have been made, it remains deserted to this day, and its ruins are still visible from the interstate. Number 7. Krakow, Italy. At the instep of the boot of Italy, in the Basilicata region, lies a magnificent medieval town that's been deserted for nearly 50 years. Seated strategically on top of a 400-meter or 300-foot-high cliff to discourage potential attackers, the city was a center of education with a university, castle, church, and plazas. Although it was founded around 540 AD, several tombs in the area suggest that the original settlement dates back to the Iron Age. Its hillside position may have been efficient at defending it from the average barbarian horde, but it also made it vulnerable to natural disasters. After surviving the Black Plague in 1561, severe famine due to poor agricultural conditions, a few earthquakes, and hundreds of years of landslides, the residents were forced to leave Krakow for safety reasons in 1963 and were relocated to Krakow Pashara. The city may have lost the battle with Mother Nature, but its panoramic view and ancient touch made it the set of several movies like James Bond Quantum of Solace, Saving Grace, and Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ. Number 6. Kolmanskop, Namibia. This small mining town in the Namibia desert may look like a mirage from a David Lynch movie, but 100 years ago, it was one of the richest towns in the world. Kolmanskop was founded in the early 190s when a railway worker stumbled upon diamonds in the sand while clearing train tracks. In the town's heyday, the precious stones were so easy to find, they could be literally picked out of the sand, making up for 12% of world's total production. Workers armed with jam jars would crawl on hands and knees, filling them with diamonds. The region was administered by Germany, and the town reflected this in its character. Elaborate houses were built to accommodate its residents, as well as a hospital, a ballroom, a theater, a sports hall, a school, a casino, and an ice factory. It all went downhill when World War I started. The mining operations were interrupted, and by the early 30s, the area was in decline. Now the traditional German buildings have been reclaimed by the sand, and the town became a magnet for tourists and ghost hunters. We're halfway through the list, so you know what time it is. It's trivia time. Check out this picture of a literally frozen town. Do you know where it's located? Stick around till the end to see if you got it right. Number 5. Dollersheim, Austria. Dollersheim is an abandoned village located in the rural Waldwurzel region of Austria. The village was first mentioned in a 12th century document issued by Duke Henry XI of Bavaria. The village was evacuated by Hitler in 1938 to make room for a Wehrmacht training ground. Rumor has it Hitler's motives for evacuating the village were more personal than practical. Hitler's father, Alois Hitler, was born the illegitimate son of Maria Schicklgruber in that very place. Maria recorded the birth with a local priest, but the information was altered 39 years later when Hitler's step-grandfather was legitimized by his father, and his surname was changed into Hitler. The grim-looking village has remained a military exclusion zone to this day, now operated by the Austrian military and is accessible to visitors. Number 4. Plymouth, Island of Montserrat. Mother Nature can be pretty moody, and Plymouth is the living proof of that. The town was once the capital of the Caribbean island of Montserrat, a British overseas territory first discovered by Christopher Columbus in his second voyage in 1493. Montserrat is known as the Emerald Isle of the Caribbean due to the Irish origin of its inhabitants. Disaster struck in 1995 when the Soufriere Hills volcano erupted, causing most of the island to be evacuated, including its capital, Plymouth. The residents were allowed back a few months later, but in 1997, a violent eruption killed 19 people and buried 80% of the town under ash. The town that shared a faith similar to the ancient city of Pompeii did not rise from the ashes, remaining completely abandoned to this day. Oddly enough, Plymouth is still legally the capital of Montserrat, and therefore the world's only ghost town capital of any political territory. Number 3. Hashima Island, Japan. Ironically, the place with the world's biggest population density in the 50s is now completely deserted. We're talking, of course, about the tiny boat-looking island off the coast of Nagasaki, known as Hashima or Battleship Island. Hashima was developed by the Mitsubishi Corporation at the beginning of the 20th century when a rich submarine coal deposit was found under the island. By 1941, the island, less than 1 square kilometer, was producing 400,000 tons of coal per year. To accommodate the miners, a remarkable city was built up on the tiny rock, with 10-story apartment complexes linked together by courtyards, corridors, and stairs. By the mid-50s, Hashima had almost 6,000 residents, becoming the city with the highest population density the world has ever known. But then the coal ran out, everybody left, and the busy island became an eerie ghost town that's slowly being reclaimed by nature. Hashima is now open to visitors, and its unique spine-chilling setting landed it in inclusion on the UNESCO World Heritage List in 2015. Number 2. Ta Prohm Temple, Cambodia. This is the kind of place you'd expect to be hiding an ancient treasure. But the real treasure of the Buddhist Ta Prohm Temple is the temple itself. Built at the end of the 12th century by King Jayavarman VII, Tapron is one of the most famous temples of Angkor due to the huge roots and massive hundreds of year-old trees growing out of its walls. King Jayavarman VII was a follower of Mahayana Buddhism and dedicated the temple to his mother. The temple got swallowed by the jungle, making it look straight out of fairy tales, and only the most necessary work was done to prevent further deterioration. A lot of knowledge is preserved in the stone stele of the temple, from the products used for religious ceremonies to the number of villages, priests, and dancers that serve the temple. The stele also cites there were 102 hospitals spread over the Khmer Empire, and even a list of items that each hospital kept in stock. Its maze-like corridors and intricate details made it a perfect set for the movie Tomb Raider and an irresistible destination for tourists. Number 1. Fishing Village on Goki Island, China. This picturesque fishing village on Goki Island proves that Mother Nature is the greatest artist of them all. Found at the base of the Yangtze River, the village is part of a group of 394 islands known as the Shaanxi Islands in China. It was once a thriving fishing village, but it was abandoned when the fishing industry in the islands began decreasing. Since then, vines and hedges started crawling all over the structures, and it appears as if nature has reclaimed what is hers. Today, although still without residents, it's a popular tourist destination and fishing area that attracts more than 100,000 fishermen every winter. Now let's see what that magnificent ice town was all about. Have you figured out its location? Well, the town comes to life each year on Harbin Ice and Snow Festival in China, where more than 1,000 carvers work non-stop in the frigid temperature to create breathtaking ice sculptures and buildings. The star of the festival, though, is a gigantic ice castle who strikingly resembles Elsa's palace from Frozen. The festival takes place near the Sanwo River, near the Chinese and Russian border, and takes up 600,000 meters, about 373 square miles. If you think you can get past the numbing cold, it's definitely worth a visit. Have you ever stumbled upon a place frozen in time like the ones in this video? Let me know by leaving a comment down below. Thanks for watching.